As always on the show, we like to let our viewers know that because nothing has been finalized between Cole and the Yankees, there's still contract details to work out, physical, etc. We'll talk in some, I guess, generalities about Garrett Cole. But having said that, Brian, in 2009, you had kind of a franchise-altering moment getting CC Sabathia. Does this have that same kind of feel?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's the championship effort I was talking about yesterday that the Steinbrenners are allowing us to undertake. I mean, to try to get Garrett Cole to say yes. See, as I point out this time.
Nicely done.
So, you know, it does, you know, it's a lot like that because you're talking about a premier, elite starter. You know, you don't see, those are unicorns. They're not running around very often, and they're going to cost a lot of money, and there's going to be a lot of competition, you know, these elite type starters can you know, really change the trajectory of your franchise in the going years. So we feel like we have an amazing opportunity, and we're trying to take advantage of it. And with the blessing of ownership here, that's, you know, would have to back up a big truck to do so. We're going to see if we can be successful in that endeavor.
An amazing commitment from the Steinbrenner family. When you make a commitment like that, it's not only the performance out on the field, right? You have to know the person that's going to be in your clubhouse. Give us a little glimpse into what Garrett Cole's all about.
Well, I mean, he's always been a real competitor. He's someone that, you know, kind of built in the mold that George Steinbrenner would love, and that's why the kids, you know, George's kids love him. You know, it takes a unique personality to turn down his favorite franchise being drafted in the first round, you know, from the New York Yankees back in the day, as we did with Garrett Cole, and he decided to go to UCLA, turn down countless millions and millions of dollars to go get a college education and live to fight another day, and then obviously fight for 6 years to go through 2 franchises to get to free agency. You know, if I turn the clock back and speak to the scouting reports that as an amateur that Damon Oppenheimer and his staff put together, the things that jumped out of the page on this guy was, you know, was the competitor, the tenacity, and we've been able to watch that, and the physicality, but we've been able to watch that play out, obviously, in his pro career, first his college career, then his pro career, and how he's so willing to bet on himself. He's been, you know, that Lone Ranger, so to speak, because as a starter, you're taking that mound, and you're going to have to navigate some of these very difficult lineups for the American League especially, and he's done it all at the highest level with the highest level of success, and now, you know, his coming out party happens to be here in free agency in this particular winter, and that competitive atmosphere has paid off for him. So, you know, I think he's wired for New York. I think he's made for New York, but I also think, in fairness, he's made for anywhere. I mean, this is the type of individual that will fit well into that clubhouse with us and anywhere else too at the same stage. So,
Brian, I'm glad you mentioned George Steinbrenner. Obviously, you learned under George, and George believed in stars and marquee names. As this process was unfolding, did it feel like an old school George Yankee kind of pursuit?
Well, it's definitely, I mean, again, it's got Steinbrenner written all over it, and it's, you know, and it's got the fingerprints of Hal Steinbrenner and his family, you know, cracking the whip, trying to make this thing happen. So, listen, they've you know, they've basically, you know, moved mountains and had our staff, from myself and our front office and our scouts, all the way through, you know, and Andy Pettit obviously being a part of this effort. You know, he's mobilized us all with the one goal of trying to be successful and securing the player, and that certainly is, you know, part of the Steinbrenner DNA. You target something and you go try to get it, and you know, usually when a Steinbrenner wants something, a Steinbrenner's going to get something, and so again, as we're trying to get, you know, cross that finish line and get all boxes checked, and hopefully get to the point where we can get a Yankee hat and a Yankee jersey onto the press conference at some point at Yankee Stadium. Those will be exciting times for our fans and for our players. I mean, you know, so everybody knows what we're trying to do, and they know it's going to impact us in a real positive way. So we got some more steps to take in this process, but they're important ones.
103 wins last year. When the ink is dry on this contract, you will have acquired the best free agent pitcher on the market this year. Are you done, or is there still more work to be done on this roster?
Well, again, with in this operation with the New York Yankees under the Steinbrenner watch, it's never done. You know, you're always trying to figure out ways to improve the present, and then make sure you're being in a position to navigate the future. So, you know, we're operating on all levels, and so even though obviously the prime focus and the very public atmosphere is all around Garrett Cole, it doesn't mean we're not having sidebars with a lot of other people, both clubs and player agents alike. So, listen, there's a lot of great players, some of which are former players that are currently in free agency, like a Brett Gardner and and obviously a number of the other guys that we have here, and Dylan Betanzas and Romine and Maben, amongst that, looks like Didi's come off the board, but a lot of great players are in the marketplace, and then players in the trade market too. So it's my job to make sure I get all the information, collect it, and make some recommendations and share it with ownership, and then plot a course.
Brian, with Didi off the board, gone to the Phillies, going to be some changes in that infield. Are you comfortable, though, with the infielders you have, or do you look like you need to maybe add somebody, a veteran guy, etc.?
Definitely comfortable with who we've got, with Glaber and Estrada and Tyler Wade at the very least for shortstop, and then the DJ LeMahieu and Miguel Andujar and Urshela at third, and Voit and et al. So I think we're covered. It doesn't preclude us from obviously playing around with, is there anything better? So we'll see.
Do you think, as you look towards 2020, Meredith mentioned it already, you didn't have Severino for most of last season. You now will presumably have a healthy Severino. You'll have Cole right above him. How does the 2020 team not perform better than the 2019 team? You seem primed to be even better than you were in 2019.
Well, obviously it'd go a long way. I mean, you can never guarantee. That's the one thing in this sport. We learned it, firsthand last year more than any team in the game's history, that, injuries are a part of the game, and so you can't count on everybody being available at the same time or at all the time. So, but certainly dreaming upon a rotation of healthy, import of a Cole, a Severino, a Tanaka, a Paxton, whatever order you want to put them in, and then obviously you still have a Happ, and then you got Montgomery and all those other guys, and then how do you deploy the bullpen? When do you want to deploy the bullpen? These are going to be exciting, fun opportunities. And if the players perform up to their abilities, which is hard in this crazy game of baseball, on a consistent basis, I think we'll have a legit shot to take another run at the American League East title at the very least, and at the very most a world championship.
Brian, when you were speaking about the infield, you mentioned Urshela and Andujar. How do you view third base right now? Is Urshela your starting third baseman, or is that going to be a bit more of a competition? Also, would you consider using Andujar at first at all?
Well, Andujar is certainly, I would say, if this was, I grew up in the horse business, so it's like a race, and the favorite clearly is Gio Urshela. I think it's his position now to lose, just like last year it was Andujar's position. But anybody's in a competition can have the job taken away from them over time. So Gio's job is to come in and reinforce what he was last year, and Andujar's job is to come in and say, hey, that was my gig 2 years ago, and I was pretty special in my own right, and I want to take it back. In the meantime, it's a great opportunity for us to learn a little bit more about and create some flexibility, and that means probably giving Andujar an opportunity. Let's take a look at what it looks like at first. Let's take a look at what it looks like in left. But he's a third baseman. But because of the dynamic of how this roster is set up, it reminds me of when we had Soriano pushing up through the minor leagues. You had Derek Jeter at short. We had Knobloch at second, and eventually moved Knobloch to left. But we had to find a way to get Soriano's bat in that lineup, and it took his journey into left field for a little. First shortstop when DJ was hurt for a while with his hamstring or groin. Then he wound up in left field, learning the position on the run, then converting to second base for a while. And so, bottom line, if you're really good, you got to find a way to get the player in the lineup. And Andujar's really good. So it's a great problem to have. We just don't know how we're going to navigate it just yet.